Hey, this is Dr. Cleve, your real soul ambassador. I'm a licensed therapist, and I'm here to help children and families live a better life. So this week, of course, we are focusing on parent support, all right? And I'm going to talk to you about effectively communicating with your teen. I talk to a lot of parents, and a lot of times parents can't remember if it was easier before their teens became true teens. Some have always clashed with their parents, and others, when they left the preteen phase and they went into the teenage world, something clicked. Well, there are a lot of reasons for this, and today I want to give you a little insight about how that happens. Here's the first thing, and I want to make sure I follow my notes here really good because I don't want to miss anything for you. If you're watching this, please like and subscribe. Here we go. Why effective communication matters? Because it builds trust and respect. Here's one of the things that I hear from a lot of my teens often who have stopped communicating with their parents, and that is this: my parents don't listen. It's very simple. My parents don't listen. Or they'll say things like, it goes in one ear and out of the other. And even if my parents say they understand, they still repeat what they were doing before. I think it's very easy for us to forget that even before our children become teens, they are their own individuals. As toddlers, they're their own individuals who are discovering the world from their lens. What we do as parents is guide them and give them proper guidance and a healthy environment to discover the world. It's kind of like we build a world around their worlds so that we can provide them an environment to discover as safely as possible. But listen to me very clearly. They are your children. No matter what your expectations for them, no matter what you thought they would be, they are their own people. And when they become teens, because the influence of the outside world has a humongous effect on the teens inside of your home, it makes all the difference. Why? Let's look at it. Where are your teens at most of the day? Well, if they're in school, they're with their friends. All right, let's really break down the day. They're asleep. They wake up. They go straight to school for 8 hours. They may have activities after school. When you're at home, you only, let's be honest about it, you only spend about 3 hours a day to 4 hours a day with your kids. Do the math. And so the more active they are, that's how important it is to keep them really stimulated, for you to be present, for us to be engaged. That's what effective parenting looks like, because that's what allows us to build the trust and respect for one another, okay? Because we're engaged and we're present with our kids. Here's the second one. It prevents misunderstandings and it empowers teens when we're actually connected with them and in the loop with them. We're trying to learn to effectively communicate with them. One of the things I hear the most from kids, not only is that their parents don't listen, it is also that my mom or my dad or whomever I'm staying with, their guardian, doesn't know them or understands them. Teens feel misunderstood all the time. All right? All the time. And is it true that they're misunderstood? Possibly. I think about being a teen, and for some reason in our minds, we feel as if our parents have not experienced anything we have. Well, they have. We realize that on a big principle stage, but when you're looking at the small picture, there are things that each generation experiences that are the same, but they're in different packages. All right. All of us have had teenage temptations, teenage peer pressures, outside influences. And as teenagers, we all responded to them differently based on values, based on self-control, impulsivity, based on what our parents the consequences, what those things may have been. It's a lot of different factors. But the main thing I want to relate to you is that you have to learn specific skills in order to make sure your team feels like you're effectively communicating with them. Here are the skills. The first one is the biggest one, and this is when any relationship is active listening. If you're not an active listener, all your relationships are going to be tough. All of them. With your kids, with the other loved ones in your life, with your romantic relationships, with your friendships. If you're not an active listener, you're going to really struggle. What is active listening? Active listening means that I am listening to understand and not listening to respond. One thing about being young is although teens may not have as much lived life experience due to their time on this earth, they can be highly perceptive and intuitive. They pick up on vibes quickly. You know, they understand if they can trust someone. They're always checking out the scene. I notice that a lot about the teens I work with. So it's important to be genuine. If you're listening just to respond because you've already made up your mind how things should be, within reason, of course, because your house has to have rules. Teens know it. And what you may notice now is those teens are now shutting down, and they communicate with you less and less and less. And that puts us in a danger zone. Because even before teens are referred to me as a party that they can talk to, we want to make sure that the lines of communication to some degree are at least open with you. Now, if the lines of communication are no longer open to you, how you desire them to be, or if they're like completely cut off, then of course, then you have to find, if you can't find a therapist, you got to find a trusted adult, a mentor, somebody they can talk to. Because the last thing that any human being wants to do is figure things out in their mind by themselves and in a funnel. Even you as a parent, even you as a guardian. Life is meant to be lived out loud, meaning when I make decisions, I have things in front of me that give me factors to make decisions off of. But if all of my rationale, all of my intelligence, all of the decisions I make are based on my own understanding, we're now setting up a situation where we can be in trouble as life increases. That's very, very, very important to understand. If you're a parent and you're trying to get your team a way that they can begin to make better decisions effectively, we got to get them out of their heads. Here's number two. Number two is empathy and validation. What does that mean? Well, you don't got to understand where they're coming from. But what is important is at least having empathy. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. It's not about understanding. It goes hand in hand with active listening, because active listening means I'm listening as hard as I can in order to understand where you're coming from. So here's how to look. If you're having active listening, you're listening to your team, and in your mind you say, man, that don't make any sense. It don't matter. You'll pause for a moment, and that's when you respond and try to have clarifying questions. Clarifying questions at least gives you insight into what they're trying to say. At the end of the conversation, even if you don't understand what they're saying, you got to have empathy to say, hey, listen, I don't necessarily understand where you're coming from, but I want to have empathy and I want to validate your feelings, meaning I'm not going to downplay your feelings. I hear where you're coming from. I'm going to keep on trying to understand where you're coming from as you're trying to understand where I come from as a parent, because we want to have mutual respect. Watch this, as you grow, as they grow into young adults, because that's where they're going. All right, here we go. The next one, this is a really big one. Nonverbal communication. Hey, a lot of us wear our emotions on our face. That's always a problem. Sometimes. And so if you're active listening, if you're exercising empathy, if you're validating their feelings, if your physical actions do not go along with that, then it will be perceived as not as genuine. So you have to watch your face. You have to watch your body language. You need to be in an open posture when you're listening to them. Even if it's burning you up inside to listen, we still got to be able to be open and listening. The last one, of course, I want to go back to that, is ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are really seeking understanding. So here are those four. Active listening, showing empathy and validating those emotions, your nonverbal cues, and asking open-ended questions for understanding. Hey, this is Cleveland Robinson, your Real Soul Ambassador licensed therapist. Please leave a comment below and share this with a parent who needs to hear it. Every week, I'm going to bring you another video, so please stay tuned. And of course, this will be broken up into a whole lot of shorts. Please subscribe and share. You won't find anything like this on the interwebs. Maybe something similar, but nothing like this. And so I'm here to help parents. Stay tuned next week. Of course, if you are a co-parent, I have a free co-parenting quick guide. It is in the bio on my link tree. So please download it and stay tuned for next week, because next week is co-parenting week. So I want to give you all some helpful tips so that you can understand how we can make our co-parenting go a little bit better. And of course, if you need therapy, if you're in Texas, New Mexico, Nebraska, or Florida, or coaching, that's for anywhere, as well as co-parenting mediation anywhere offered in all 50 states, please reach out to me.